You're going to slap me for this, but you mentioned spin rate, and I do have all the data, so we'll go into this. I cook my pitching wedge. You want to know why? I have no grooves on my pitching wedge. My spin rate on a sand wedge is 11,700 RPMs. My pitching wedge is 6,800 RPMs.
Hey, winner, chicken dinner.
So that's that's where some of my gap comes from, is that my pitching wedge shouldn't be going 150. It should be going 138.
Again, we're talking about grams, millimeters, and degrees.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game we play.
Yeah.
That's the way it is for Garrett.
What's that?
All about attitude.
Most days. Yeah, most days.
Okay, so long story short, yes, you said I've been playing better golf. Yeah, I've been playing fine golf, I guess. And so long story short, I wanted to play more with my college students this semester. You know, we've got seniors who are graduating this semester. It's me the last time on campus with me, and we all came in together. Like when I moved here, they were my freshmen, right? So a lot of them want to play golf.
So your fourth year.
Going into the fifth year, yeah.
Okay.
So they have a 1.5-year program. So we're going to get done in a year. But anyway, so most of the tournaments that they play are at Lonnie Pool from the Tips. Challenging long golf course, right? Like the slope rating, the handicap rating, when you look at it, people who play there are like, no, it's not even close to challenging enough, if you will. But so I hadn't played there from the Tips in forever. And the last time I played there was like 2 weeks before, just with a friend and his fiance or his wife. And we were just chilling, playing from like the white tees just to have fun. And so anyway, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to play good. I'm going to have to hit the ball and play with the driver long and far. I'm going to have to hit my irons and approaches well, this, that, and the other. So we started off, and hole number 10 was our first hole. So it's a short par 4, out of bounds left, first fairways right. You don't really want to not be in play there. Hit a great 7-wood or whatever, and then there's a lot of blind shots at Lonnie Pool. You can't see the bottom of the flagstick from the green.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you like walk around to go look at it, you shoot the number and you kind of have to estimate, is it front, middle, back? So next hole, number 11, is a long par 5. It's not really gettable in 2 from the Tips. Hit a good drive, hit a good layup, hit a good third shot, 15 feet birdie putt, finishes 2 feet short. Greens are still really, really slow. So to try to really hard to calibrate there. But then I just walked up to it and hit it, not remembering I was trying to play a competitive round, and missed the 2-foot putt. And I was like, crap, well, I got to make that stroke. It's part of my stroke now. So bogey there. Finished up the back 9, or the front 9 for us, which was the back 9, fine. I mean, I was like, it shot a 41 with some really stupid mistakes, obviously. Then we get to the back 9, and I go birdie the first hole, which is a par 5, par the second, which is a tough par 3, birdie the third, which is a tough par 5, birdie the fourth, which is a par 4, par the 5th, par 4, par the 6th, par 4, birdie the 7th, which is a par 5. And on hole number the first par 5, the second par 5, I missed an eagle putt on the lip. So that could have been eagle. Then we get to the 17th hole, which is number 8, a short, difficult par 3. I missed another birdie right on the lip. So I could theoretically have been 6 under at best, right?
Mm-hmm.
On 30 watch, which is crazy. And I get to 18, number 9, which is our 18th hole. And there's hazard all the way down the left. You don't want to be there. And then there's just fescue on the right in the bunker. This fescue, I kid you not, is like up to your knees right now. So I hedge my bets. I'm going to put it a little right to be safe. Don't make a confident, committed decision on the swing, even though I'd been striping driver perfectly. Ends up barely find my ball, but it's buried down into thick fescue. You can't even hardly see it. So I'm like, do I just take an unplayable here and take a stroke? But then you're like, well, there's nowhere for me to drop it that isn't also tall fescue. So you try to hack it out, and then it's U.S. Open style. Just made a triple, gave 3 of the 4 birdies back, but played just fine. I was very happy with how I played from a challenging set.
This was from the Blacks?
This is from the Tips, yeah. So it would have been a really good handicap differential. It would have been one that I kept for my handicap. But I was pleased with how I played. The kids are like texting me, what's going on? You got 4 under going, having a good time.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, but made the right decision. It just, what are you going to do when the fescue is 3 feet tall?
Yeah.
So, and then we played in our match player thing
We did.
on Monday.
We tag teamed that fairly well. I played really well the first few holes, and then we both kind of took a little break around the 9-10 hole mark so that I could hand them the baton and take it from there. We both bogeyed 9 and 10, I think. And then after that, I never played good again, but he played lights out. So we both shot 73, but we best balled 67. So that was
really, with the 2 bogeys, if you get the bogeys off, and then I had two simulator putts that bounced over the back of the cup, and then you had one that bounced over the back of the cup.
And one of
dead center, and then just go hop. And you're like,
one of yours was traveling pretty high rate of speed on the screen, at least. The second one was dying in anyway, and it was dead center. I told you the capture ratio, or the capture area, or whatever you call it, is pretty small on the simulators. But
so we'll see what we do, right? I mean, we'll see
Yeah.
where we end up. It's a lot of fun. Simulator golf is definitely different. You have to adjust and calibrate. And like I told you guys, that's the same thing that happened when I
Yeah.
set my handicap, those 3 9-hole rounds. First 9-hole round, I think I shot 1 over, and then after that, it was 2 under, 2 unders.
Well, there's an interesting lesson to be learned from that, actually, for real golf. I was thinking about this today. When you and I were warming up that day, or when I was warming up before you got there, I was hitting the ball pretty hard, but I had a little fade and it wasn't going anywhere. And I was like, that's kind of odd, but whatever. It's kind of one of them days, I guess. But then when we started playing, you didn't seem like it was really, something was a little bit off with you too. And I looked down and it was just barely off, probably 2 degrees. And 2 degrees is almost impossible to detect with the naked eye. You have to lay a shaft down beside the launch monitor to see that. But there's a really important lesson there, because at Sully's or any launch monitor, as long as you're square, it's great. As long as I get the launch monitor square, all I gotta do is make sure my feet are square with the mat, and I'm set for the whole day. I know I'm square. On a golf course, you don't have that, and a simulator or a monitor like that shows you how important 2 degrees is. You may not even be able to tell your feet are off 2 degrees, but it turns a straight shot into a weak 10-yard fade with 15 yards less.
Or for me with my
Distance.
7, remember I was like, I don't hit massive pulls with this
Mhm.
7-wood. And then sure enough, he adjusts the
Yep.
launch monitor, he moves it, and then it's back to just like exactly the
Yeah.
way I think it should.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
You can adjust it, yeah. The ones that we were playing on, they're just on the ground there, so you can adjust them if they get, and that's also how they get a little bit off. Somebody bumps it by accident, and they think, oh, it looks the same, but 1 degree, like I said, you may not notice it,
So what
but
I'm gonna do next time is I'm gonna bring my alignment stick
Mhm.
that works with that
Yeah.
launch monitor. I'm gonna set that sucker down and
Make
we're gonna
sure it's right on.
calibrate
Yeah,
first, because
exactly.
I mean, I hit some massive offline shots. So I was like, this is not right at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but anyway, we had a lot of fun. We'll do it again this week or
Yep.
next week and see where we end up. And got to play TPC Boston. It was fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
We got a student intern in there right now.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry, we played DPC.
That's right.
Boston, not TPC for copyright.
That's right. That's right. So I did a little experiment this morning, and see, Mike's asked for an agenda. I don't really do agendas that well. I am more of a shoot from the hip kind of guy. If I've got an agenda, I get kind of messed up. But I guess preparation makes some sense, especially since that was like our
The
first
first
episode. So, but I couldn't really give you much of an agenda on the experiment because I didn't know how the experiment was going to go. But I was telling Tony before we started recording, you should have about 12 to 15 yards gaps between how far you hit each club. And I didn't feel like I had that. I feel like I can hit a lot of different clubs 150, and I can hit a lot of different clubs 175, but I feel like I've got like these little clusters of yardages and then huge gaps in between them. So I went in today, just went through my entire bag and hit 5 balls with each club, trying to go full speed. Not like max myself out speed, but the way I would hit a full shot on the golf course. And I just, going through.
Is that solid?
Mm-hmm. Shout out Sully's. I think we've already got a Sully's shout out in, but that's okay. We can do multiples per show. My pitching wedge to 9-iron, there's that comfortable gap that you see. And if you look at like the TrackMan charts, incrementally each club's about 2 to 3 miles per hour faster on club speed. And then that's about 10 to 12, 13 yards difference in carry distance. My wedge is 93 miles per hour. My 9 is 96. My 8 is 96.2. My 7 is 97.2. My 6 and my 5 are both exactly 99. My 4 is 100.5. Then there's a little jump at my 2-iron hybrid. It goes to 104. My 3-wood was 113. My driver was 115. So if you compare that to like the tour average, I was telling him, my wedge and 9-iron, I'm like super faster than the tour average. Some of that's probably because they're not swinging at full speed. They're hitting 3/4 shots with those clubs. I don't know how TrackMan gathers that data or how they,
Just raw averages. I mean, literally they track every single
Every
shot.
shot.
So that's
Okay.
the hard thing is they say, okay, they hit a 9-iron. Well, they might have been hitting a knockdown 9-iron,
Right.
3/4 because of wind or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's going to play into it.
And also, when you look at like the PGA Tour stats and you see clubhead speed off the tee, that's not accounting for only drivers. That's any tee shot, or is it only driver holes?
I think the ShotLink data is they use an uphill or an upwind and a downwind hole where drivers predominantly the play. But again, sometimes Rory or someone else might not be hitting driver. They might be hitting
Right.
wood. So yeah, there's always caveats to all of that mass data collection stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's, what significance there is in the data, I guess, but I do know that my yardage, here are my carry yardages for each of these. 151 for the wedge, 150 for the 9, 169 for the 8, 180 for the 7, 187 for the 6, 197 for the 5, and then 208 for the 4, 233 for the 2, 254 for the 3 wood, 291 for the driver. So there's not a single gap in my bag other than the 2-iron and the 3 wood and the driver that is at least 12 yards. They're all 9, 10, 11 yards. That's a problem because I don't have a 181 club. I don't have a 162 club. I have a 150 club, a 175, and a 200. I've got 3 actually of each of those, but I don't have a 192 or a 167. So I don't know what the reason for that is. I texted you this morning. This is one of these things where this is a meaty subject because it can be a mechanical thing that I'm swinging harder and that makes it less efficient in the longer clubs. It can be an equipment thing. It can be a number of things. So y'all take it from there. Why do I not have, and ideally we don't want to normalize. What I want to do is not back the wedge down to 125 to get those gaps right. No, I want to start hitting the 4-iron 225 and the driver 330 as I should be doing there. So what could be going wrong there? Is there a physical limitation where I was asking him, I don't think Tony believes this, but I think that my butt's too strong for my hands. I think that I'm just generating, once I get above about 100 miles per hour, my hands can't hold the pressure anymore. But that's not really true.
Squeeze my hand as hard as you can.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think there's. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, there's not a way to. We asked about that on one of the other shows. Is there a way to like a standardized grip test or grip strength test? But one of the things I've been working on is holding this pressure point to the last 3 fingers of the left hand. Your pinky, your ring finger, and your middle finger of your left hand should stay clamped to the club pretty much through impact at least. And for me to do that, I feel like I've got to really slow my swing down. If I try to swing even 90% with those longer clubs, I can't hold it. It doesn't feel like. But that could be even a mechanical thing.
See how big your hand is too. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, my first thought was when you're testing all your clubs, are you getting more loosened up as you go from club to club?
So I was fully loose when I started this. So I hit a 25 ball warm up to get loose. And then basically I knew I was good because my sand wedge, I know what my best end of my sand wedge speed is. It's about 90. So once I get to about 89, 90, I'm like, okay, I'm loose. That's as good as I can get my swing speed for a sand wedge. So I was loose when I started. He was talking about fatigue.
I'm not going to see he's hitting 100% rapid fire shots with each club. By the time he gets to the top of the bag, he's going to be.
But the thing with that is the very last club that I hit was driver, and it was 115, what I expected. Yeah.
You could play around with it. And did you just go right through the numbers?
Mhm.
Like you could just go random with your club selection.
Yeah.
Just to see, because you might have a preconceived bias with your club, unless you just were totally unaware of what your numbers were going into it.
I was trying really hard to focus on trying to make the same, and that's why I was sequentially going through the bag so that there might be a risk of me swinging a lot faster with the driver than I would a 9-iron or vice versa. But I'm not going to swing the 6 much different than a 7, the 7 much different than an 8. So
Yeah.
I was just gradually trying to say, okay, I want to hit this 9 exactly the same way I was hitting the 8 or the wedge, and then just building my way up. But I don't know. And then you asked me, swing weight can make it. I've never looked at swing weights. I've done a lot with my loft lies.
I remember what I was going to say. You hit 5 balls. Did you toss out your high and low and get the actual?
So the numbers that I just gave you were tossing out. They were just taking my best 3 of 5. And I went back through the data before we came over here to make sure that I shanked a 9-iron. Okay, so I didn't include that one. Yeah, and I would say, I mean, I specifically,
Fairly consistent. It's usually very tight tolerances.
yeah, and the swing speeds, I did. The data that I took the spreadsheet and then just cherry picked out to make sure that I was only using good shots, not letting a big toe ball that went 30 yards left, skew the data.
Are you
But
hitting the same ball every time?
hmm
Okay, well that's good.
yeah,
Trying to get as streamlined as possible.
It's the same brand model, yes. So here's from a golf club equipment standpoint, right? Your grooves and your club faces on your short irons are extremely worn. I would be curious to see if the grooves are worn down and you're getting lower spinning with those, and therefore they carry farther. The other issue with clubs in general is most of the time people's gaps between clubs tend to get smaller as they get higher up in the bag because they don't have enough speed, which is not your case. They don't have enough speed to generate the launch and spin it. They need to carry the ball incrementally farther or consistently same increment. So their gap between their 4 and 5 iron might only be 5, 6 yards of carry, but it rolls out more with a 4 iron, right?
Yeah.
So that's where people might need to go into a hybrid or
Yeah.
a 7 or something like that because they don't generate enough speed. This is for your average listener, right? Your type of client, right? But the other thing too is if you are hitting predominantly off mats, which I know you do at Sully's, that can affect loft and lie over time, right?
So let's
my point was going to say, I need you to come to the golf course and we
Yeah.
need to swing weight, total weight, measure the length. We need to get you back on the launch monitor and get launch angles and spin rates because that could obviously be where discrepancy is. One of the first activities we have our students do when they come into the PGM program is they have to assess their full bag for all the things I just talked about. Because I had a situation where a really good player came into me and was like, Doc, my clubs are going the same. My 5 and 6 iron are going the exact same distance carry. I don't know what the heck's going on. So, well, let's take a look at them. I said, son, where did you buy these clubs? He goes, oh, I got them off Facebook Marketplace used. I was like, your 5 iron shaft is in your 6 iron and your 6 iron shaft is in your 5 iron.
Hmm.
So something as simple as them not being incrementally lengthed properly, swing weighted properly, total weighted properly, especially if you buy stuff used, you don't know what you're getting. If it's not been custom built or checked, your loft angles could be substantially different from what they need to be. These are all variables that will affect carry distance, total distance, spin.
All right, so that's why I say this is a pretty juicy little experiment 'cause we can go so many different ways with it. And I always want to, I've said this, I think, before, but I want to reiterate it. I'm not quite narcissistic enough to think that we should make this show help Garrett's golf game get better because that's not going to appeal to very many listeners out there. The point of bringing this up is that all these little lessons and nuggets that I learn, I bet I'm not the only one. I'm not so unique that I'm the only one who's having them.
Yeah, ain't nobody
So-
close for like unless you actually care about tournament golf. They're not
Yeah.
checking this stuff.
So just to piggyback that, I was talking to my client today. He's always complaining about his putting, and I asked him, has he been fitted for his putter? And he's like, no, it's just, I mean, he literally says he's got about 20 putters, and he just
Yeah.
it's an old gentleman.
Yep. You buy one and hope it works.
Right. And he's shorter. And I say, well, I know of guys that take him in and they take an inch off, and he's under 5'7".
Mhm.
And I said, I've talked to clients, they thought they were going straight back and straight forward, and they actually had a loop, a little bit of a curve, and they didn't know until they went and got fitted. And lo and behold, they changed the loft and the lie. But I guess my point is that, I'm train guys that golf, anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. And you'd be surprised how many guys have never been fitted for clubs, or it's been years. And now they're working with me and just, they complain about the same things. They're like, hey, let's look at the equipment as well. So anyway, I'm just surprised, even with as much as my clients play, that they don't take the time to just get fitted and refitted.
Well, and it's hard too for people who are just getting into the game, especially or who don't have as much expendable income because they want to play.
Mhm.
They don't want to spend all their yearly golf budget on a brand new set of fitted irons and then don't have any money to play. So that's
Yeah.
a real substantial part of it. But when we are talking about a game of degrees and millimeters as far as toe ball, heel ball, center strike, Like your equipment definitely matters. None of those tour players who are playing the best golf on the planet, none of the college players, none of your top tier amateurs have neglected equipment. They won't because it is too important. Like you go to the freaking tour trucks, you can go and watch TaylorMade and Titleist tour truck videos. They've got it down to a build sheet for Rory's driver gets this much hot melt in this part of the club head. It's cut to this specific length. It's swing weighted to this, and it's 2 reps under the right hand, 3 reps under the left hand.
Yeah.
Logo has to be facing down, right? Like it's such a fine-tuned science. And I remember watching a video one time of Tiger on the range, and he had some Nike demo clubs he was working with. He took one swing with the driver, and I'm going to say something on it. You can delete or blur out, whatever. He took one swing of the driver. The audience who's watching the clinic goes, "Wow!" He goes, "Well, that thing's a piece of," and he just tosses it.
Yeah.
Even though he hit a great shot, he's like, "That's not the one.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit. It's not for me."
Well, and here's the
Easy, right? Like it's
lesson here, okay? I don't think most of our listeners are going to be getting into that level of fine tuning. That being said, let's look at how this can go wrong for your average player. You asked me earlier when I talked about the swing, when I texted you about the swing weights, did you buy the clubs used? Well, interesting fact on that. I bought this set of clubs from one of to me, the most trusted club fitter out there. I've known the guy since I was 14, 15 years old, worked for him when I was in high school. He's done all of my club work for years and he does amazing work. I got these clubs from him in 2017, 2018, brand new, custom fit the shafts, custom did the lofts, the lies, everything. Got it exactly the way I wanted it. After a couple of years of just pounding balls like I was pounding them back then, the grooves on my wedge 9 and 8 were pretty worn out. So I didn't want to buy a whole new set. So I got a set on eBay that had just 6 through wedge used. Took the 6 through wedge back to my guy, said, "Hey, let's swap these shafts out." We take my shafts out, put it in that head, bend the loft lie, get them exactly where they are. And now I think I've got a fresh, great thing. Now, that was part of how we got here. Here's another part of how we got here. I do pound a lot of golf balls. And because of that, I wear the club head out. I break a lot of stuff, not out of anger, but because, right. A few months ago, I broke my 9-iron on number 13 at Eagle Ridge. I popped my 9-iron and the head goes flying off into the gully. I go dig the 9-iron out, but, different shaft. Well, instead of reshafting that head, I had another 9-iron. So I just stuck it in the bag. Not ideal. In the meantime, I've gone back and bent all of my other clubs to get them from 2 degrees upright where I had them before down to standard, which is where I've made some swing changes. But that 9-iron is still 2 degrees upright. It also has an S300 shaft in it instead of the KBS X-Flex that I have. Also, because the wedge gets so much work, you're going to slap me for this, but you mentioned spin rate, and I do have all the data, so we'll go into this. And I knew this. I just had withheld it till now. Here's the average spin rate of my clubs.
Going to the doctor and they're like, "We didn't tell me that."
No. This was part of the fun of the podcast, though. I wanted
Medication.
You wanted to see how close I would get to diagnosis.
I thought that this would come up on the podcast, and it's a great little piece of data. So I cooked my pitching wedge. Average carry 148. My best 3 average 151. My 9-iron's only 150. Well, that's a problem. You want to know why? I have no grooves on my pitching wedge. My spin rate on a sand wedge is 11,700 RPMs. My spin rate on a 9-iron is 8,900
Pretty
RPMs.
standard, yeah.
77 on the 8.
Yep.
69, 7,000 on the 7, and so on. My pitching wedge is 6,800 RPMs.
Hey, winner, chicken dinner.
So that's why that's where some of my gap comes from, is that my pitching wedge shouldn't be going 150. It should be going 138. If it's spinning the way it should, then that solves that gap. Okay. My 9-iron, I don't know where it should go. The fitter at Sully's took my 9 and wedge and 8-iron the other day and put them on his loft lie machine. My loft on my 9-iron is almost the same as my pitching wedge, even though they were custom built and bent 4 years ago or 8 years ago.
That's exactly my point.
Forged irons are going to bend with wear.
They're very simple.
Okay. So I haven't gone back through my bag. I did actually check most of them except the 9-iron not too long ago. But that 9-iron's way out of whack in a lot of different ways. So I have some of the answers to this. What I don't have, though, is the swing speed. The swing speed I can understand how the swing speed jumped. For example, my 9-iron swing speed jumped from 93 on the wedge to 96 on the 9, but the carry distance went down a yard. We've explained that spin rate, and that's the 9-iron might be a little jacked up, whatever. but I can't explain from clubs that or at least from, the head dynamics, grooves, and all that kind of stuff, why my club head speed goes from 96 on a 9 to, what did I say, 96.2 on an 8, 97.2 on a 7, and then only 99 to the 6. It should be going up more than 3 miles an hour for 3 clubs if there's not something else off on that, which swing weight, I have no idea what swing weight is. I understand what the concept of it is, but I don't know what it does to ball flight.
So there's a difference between swing weight and total weight. Total weight is how much the club weighs raw. Built, put together, how much does it weigh? It's typically measured in grams. Swing weight is a measure on a fulcrum of where the weight of the head is balanced along the shaft. So ideally, all of your irons should be the same swing weight, D2, something like that, D1, D2, D3 for most people. And that's kind of how the shafts are designed as well. And so that's how heavy the clip feels to you.
Mhm.
So there's a direct correlation between the lower number of the club, the wedges, the 9 irons are heavier, total weight, than the driver. Those are the lightest total weight because that fulcrum point changes because the club gets longer. So to be all balanced out and have the same swing weight, they have to take weight out from different places.
Mhm.
So that's why the head of a wedge is extremely heavy. The head of a driver is extremely light because they have to make up for that weight somewhere with the length of the shaft.
Yeah.
So regardless, the point I'm trying to make is, again, we're talking about grams, millimeters, and degrees.
Mhm.
That's the game we play.
Yeah.
And if you put a slightly heavier head weight in my driver, I'm going to know you changed it.
Mhm.
One of my buddies, who's the fitter at Lonnie Pool, I'll never forget. It was funny for him, sad for him, funny for me. We were playing at Lonnie Pool one time a few years ago, and he was missing his driver right, just over and over and over. He's like, "What the heck is going on?"
Mhm.
He lifts out his club, and one of the other guys he had hired borrowed his driver, changed the settings,
Yeah.
didn't tell him, put
Oh,
it back
man.
in the bag, never put it back together. He was like, "I'm gonna kill this guy,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
Well, I have literally,
Yeah.
again, a few months ago, I cracked my 3 wood at just overuse and cracked the face of it. And same deal. I get on eBay, buy an exact replica of it, stick it in, stick the shaft in, go to Sully's. My spin rate's gone up like 1,400 RPMs. So I didn't even realize that my 3 wood had alternate weights that you could change out. I had the blue weight instead of the red weight. So I went home and I changed it. I go out and hit it. I pick up about 7 or 8 of those yards, but I don't get the whole 12 or 15 back. So I get the club out and I just start rubbing the face. Yeah, I'd worn the grooves out on the 3 wood. That's why I'd picked up the extra 10, 10 yards on that. You can have the exact same club head. I mean, wasn't Scotty Scheffler's was disallowed or something at the PGA or something because the tour guys have learned after I hit the ball a few times, it gets a little bit more trampoline effect and they will break one in a little bit. And now the tours figure that out. So now they check their drivers to make sure they're not too trampoliny. I don't know if that's a word. We'll make it up for this show. So, if you get a brand new driver, you could literally probably get 5 different heads of the exact same driver, hit them, and you're going to like one better than another. The exact same shaft, you might like one better than another.
that's another very valid point. I'm glad you raised. We don't seem to remember that golf clubs are a manufacturing process. They go along an assembly line. They are machined. Some of them are casted with a mold, right? But all of those things have tolerances,
Mhm.
just like anything in life. And if
Sure.
you go to some golf club websites, it'll even mention on there that there's a slight chance that within a range, this is the club you're going to get. So even if you buy a brand new club straight from Mizuno, straight from Srixon, like I get straight from Srixon or whatever, you need to get it checked out after you get it in. It
Yeah.
might need to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
Like even our college kids, they order straight from Titleist. My kids order straight from Titleist. I still make them bring their clubs in to make sure they are exactly to spec as per what the website says. It'll tell you what the swing weight's supposed to be. It'll tell you what the total weight's supposed to be. It'll tell you what the loft and lie is supposed to be. You check that.
Well, and the
No matter
last,
what you buy, used, new, whatever.
I think it was our last episode was the race car show. All we talked about was racing analogies. But I remember back in the day, the NASCAR guys would just have one car that was just lights out dominant and it would win everything. It was built the exact same way, every other car with the exact same part, the exact same specs. But for whatever reason, this one particular one it got glued together a little differently than the rest and they run so much better. So golf clubs are the same way. and I don't think most of the listeners are going to go out and buy 17 different driver heads and figure out which one goes the best. But you should understand how these, I mean, if you've been hitting, 3,500 golf balls a month off a mat like I have, guess what? You need to go back in and have that thing recalibrated and just make sure all your clubs are still the right loft lie. Check your grooves once in a while and make sure that, you shouldn't be spinning a pitching. I can get by spinning a pitching wedge that low because I launch it so high. But in fact, I wish I could sand down all of my clubs and get that extra juice. but they do have a much bigger impact than what your average player
Yeah.
might realize sometimes.
Yeah, grooves matter, especially on the wedges. I think I even read a story or watched a video with Jason Day. He was talking about whenever he gets a brand new wedge off the tour truck, he goes for like 3 straight days and hits a bunch of balls out of bunkers because he doesn't want the extra spin. He wants to not rip the ball back 35 feet on every shot. So he's wearing them down a little bit to get to that sweet spot that he likes. And let's not forget, these tour players go through wedges. They might change wedges every other tournament, depending on the course conditions they're playing. If it's firm and fast, they might want low bounce, a lot of relief from the toe and the heel. If it's soft and wet, they might have a different setup, but they get this stuff for free. And
Yeah.
they'd be like, hey, man, build me 6 different combinations of my 60 degree. And then they play around the practice round with them like, this is the one for these course conditions.
Yeah.
And they can get the stuff checked whenever they want.
Yeah.
And they can get new stuff whenever they want.
Yeah. So maintain your grips, clean them, make sure that you don't have them falling off like I was getting big time guilt tripped by Tony before we started recording on how bad my grips are.
I said, did you at least clean them yet? He goes, no.
I said, in fact, I don't need to bother cleaning them because the pitching wedge is about to fall apart anyway. The grip's like peeling at this point. Might need some new grips. It's the only part of the club I actually touch, so maybe it should be in good condition.
Yeah. And a good club fitter will not always try to sell you on more clubs. It's like you said, hey, you just need some new grips. That's the least expensive route to go. And I love what you're saying about the used clubs. Like, bring your used clubs in, and there's no reason why you have to just put up with what's on the rack or whatever, whoever was hitting them.
Yeah.
And just for just a little bit of money, they can make an adjustment for you and then make a recommendation. And then, yeah, well, when you have the money saved up, you can buy some new stuff.
Well, and a few years ago, I mean, when I had to replace those 4 clubs, was it a sin that I bought a used set off of eBay that might not have been the exact same, came out of the same batch that no, that's fine. You can do that. Hit them. And what you might find is if for whatever reason, this batch was a little bit hot. If it's a little bit hot, maybe you have to back that one down a degree. If it's a little cold, then maybe you need to juice it up a degree. Maybe you can make other alterations to also, but you need to make sure that you don't just assume that they're the exact same. I have 2 driver heads, which technically this is not the same. It's the Callaway Epic Sub-Zero and a regular non-Sub-Zero, whatever it was, but totally different characteristics between those 2 heads. Even having, like I said, switching 3 woods, you can have the exact same head and it's not gonna be the same. So stay on top of your equipment, find a good club fitter, and just, I don't know, how often should you be calibrating? I guess that's one thing. I know that it needs to be calibrated, but it's kind of like changing the oil in my car. I know it's supposed to be done, but I don't really keep track of how many miles it's been. So how
Maybe I should do it.
it just feels like it's been a minute. Maybe I should. So how often should golfers recalibrate their stuff?
Yeah, it depends on your goals. If you actually want to be a better player, you need to account for the variables. So you need to make sure your equipment's good. Like the race car driver always checks the tire pressure before they run. They make sure the operating temps are up. These are just checkpoints. These are just things that we need to be aware of, inventory type things, so that when you go to play, that's not in the back of your mind. Well, maybe my clubs are off, or maybe it's just not working for me. I would say, as far as buying new equipment, listen, club builders might hate me on this, but the USGA and RNA have set limits on how hot a driver can be, how hot a golf ball can be. Anything after that is marketing.
Yeah.
Like we reached that threshold a long time ago. And so what TaylorMade was really bad at, and we're probably not going to do TaylorMade sponsorship now, but what they did back in the day was they just made everything lighter and longer at the drivers.
Yeah.
Super fast, burner 2.0, all these things. It was like a 46-inch driver shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you timed it all up, that thing will go for days. But it wasn't because the head was hot. It was because the freaking shaft is an extra 1.5 inches or whatever
Yeah.
their standard. So you got to be careful about that. You got to be careful about loft jacking. Companies have been doing that for years. Like if you look at historical charts, like an old 7-iron is now a 9-iron.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've dropped 2 clubs almost put a different number on it and put a lot longer shaft in it. And
Yeah.
look, you're hitting these are 15 yards from. Well, if that was true, we should all be hitting 450-yard drives by now.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So the biggest area of improvement now is in the forgiveness category for drivers and irons, MOI. But even now, they're going to start to talk about limiting MOI and forgiveness.
Yeah.
So like the driver I have is actually the Max G425 because I didn't feel I needed a low spin. I didn't need it to go any farther. I needed to be able to play more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's and it all comes down to the goals of the golfer, what their weaknesses are, what they need out of the equipment. You go on the tour truck, you can go on Ping's website, you can look through their tour staff players, both PGA and LPGA, completely different setups. Every
yeah.
last one of them,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what they need. That's what helps them play their best.
Yeah.
But I would say check every 5 years to see if, there's something out there new that fits you better, or maybe you have an injury, you need a little bit whippier of a shaft to help to get the ball airborne.
Well, as your game changes a little bit too. I mean, right now, talking about my, yeah. I mean, we talked about my 2-iron before. I mean, I like it when I hit it. It reminds me of like the old, I used to have a Titleist PT15. Like it was the least forgiving club in the world. But man, when I was playing good, there was nothing like it. It was like a blade for a 3-wood, right? That 2-iron kind of reminds me of that. When I hit it good, I love it. But it's probably, how often do I hit it? Probably more often than I should, honestly, because I don't hit it good as often as that. So, but what would I get instead? Honestly, I would get one of these new forgiving drivers that doesn't go as far, but they just, get it in play. That might be something I would toy around with. But, as equipment, as new things come out, you may play a little bit of algebra and, you got 14 clubs. Which ones are going to be the best for your game right now?
And again, the tour players change it based off of the course.
Yep.
They change it based off of the round. They change it based off the conditions. So it's having tools in your tool bag for whatever situation arises.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, Mike, I've started back at the gym since our last. I said I was going to, and I've been a good boy. I've only gone 2 to 3 times a week for 30 minutes, mixing in a variety of carries, and I just go to the track and I'll do a carry for 1 lap, and then I'll run 3 laps, and then I'll do another carry for a lap and run 3 laps.
What's a carry?
A farmer, kettlebells. So I've been doing farmers carries of both, and then I've done the suitcase carries or whatever, where you just carry one or the other, and then I've been mixing in a cross carry where you carry a heavy one on one side, and then I have to do a lighter one with an overhead on the other. That one is hard, by the way. That is by far my least favorite. Like a 35-pound kettlebell in my right hand with a 13-pound over my head with the left, and man, that will kill your offhand.
Yeah.
That when you're doing that, but I am interested in the grip strength thing, and you've talked about it a little bit on other episodes, and you were talking about it a minute ago before we were on. But what are some of the things that you're doing to build grip strength? And talk a little bit about the studies TPI has done on tour players and their grip strengths. And
Yep. Back in January, I was out in Orlando for the annual Golf Fitness Summit, and everything's data driven, and so they threw some numbers up on the board, and they were just basically saying the average amateur golfer has we'll say a grip strength of a 5, and the average tour player has a grip strength of a 9. That just, their grip is stronger, right? But they said the data for the amateurs, the grip pressure, that's how hard they're squeezing the club on the downswing, is actually they're squeezing the club harder than the pro guys. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. And so their takeaway is, when you over grip a club because you don't have the grip strength, that just tightens everything up, and it makes you swing the club slower. I mean, whether it's baseball, hockey, you've got a bat, a stick in your hand, you over grip your club, it's going to slow things down. And so I've really been working hard since January with my clients to work on their grip strength. And I found that it's so boring just to sit and just do grip exercises. So I'm like, this, for a personal trainer, it's like, nothing is more boring than just have somebody squeeze exercise balls or.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, how can I incorporate grip strength just with what we're already doing? So I utilized these things called fat grips. You can go online, and they're just big pieces of rubber that has a slit. down the side, and it just fits over a kettlebell. It fits over a dumbbell. You can slip it on a pull down bar, but it's just a great way to. It's an overgrip, and so it's harder to lift things. You can't lift as things as heavy because the
Hmm.
grip is bigger, and so
Yeah.
it's a great way to improve your grip strength, and you don't have to sit and do the boring
Yeah.
forearm exercise. You can just incorporate it into what you're doing. So fat grips are great, and I use them. It is kind of a joke. They give me a hard time because I use them in the gym all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
please don't make me do the fat grips. Don't put the fat grips
It's
on
like
there.
this for 3
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the kettlebell carries because they're kind of a 2-for-1. Well, it's actually a 3-for-1 actually for the way I'm doing it because I need to lose the weight, so the running helps me with that. And then the kettlebell carries or any weighted carry is it helps your posture as much as it does your grip strength. So I've loved mixing those in, and it's actually one of those things that I actually kind of look forward to doing. I hate doing it, but I also kind of look forward to. I like the way I feel afterwards. It's like you kind of walk around with your chest all puffed out for a couple of days after you do them. You just feel like you just feel stronger, and and I think it has even. I mean, I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks, but you do start to feel it creep into your golf game a little bit because now I feel awkward if I'm not in the right posture, and where sometimes the right posture can feel awkward to you. Now it's like if I'm slouched over. That's another interesting thing I learned a while back is that I was getting a little over the top in my golf swing, and I just worked on my posture. And just working on my posture, getting my shoulders back, got the club back on the inside because and just stand there in golf posture and slouch your shoulders and make a swing. And then when you get to that delivery position, move your shoulders back and look at what it does to the shaft. It moves the shaft back to the inside. So it's amazing what just again PGA posture grip alignment. It's amazing what those things can. We kind of touched on two of them. We've talked about grip, we've talked about posture now, and we talked about alignment earlier with the Sully's thing. So we've covered the entire PGA today.
Yeah, if you're slouching and it's going to affect your ability to rotate, and how many golfers out there complain of back pain, discomfort, and getting in the right alignment with your spine. It's just you're automatically you can affect the ability to rotate. I think Tyler's said like 60%. Like if you're hunched over and you're not able to rotate as much. So
Hmm.
just and then, when you're tired and it's hot, what's the first thing that goes? Your posture, right?
Yeah.
And so just doing a double check in your setup, it's gonna before you even take the club back, you've already increased your ability to rotate by just getting a good spine angle. So
Yeah, and it's fun to me. Maybe is I don't know if that's quite the right word, but just seeing how much a little change can make a difference. Like what you just said about rotation. Okay. Getting in the right posture. A lot of times I've seen, hey, I did clear my left side a little bit better on that shot. That wasn't what I was trying to do, but I did a better job of it because I was rotating instead of just, kind of stalling out mid swing. So don't underestimate the value of those simple little fundamentals. And then even, sometimes when you're in the right posture, it can throw off your alignment, or it changes whether it throws it off or not. It's changing the rest of your setup, right? If I'm used to setting up like this, and now I move my shoulders back, my hands came back, my arms came back, everything kind of moved with that.
Well, and tension is an interesting topic too because everything's a balance and everything has to have a purpose. There can be too much tension, there can be not enough tension, right? Like we need tension in our structures, cables, steel, to hold things up. There has to
Hmm.
be enough tension in order to maintain stability, yet too much tension causes things to break, snap, right? So there's a tension level. Same thing with winding up I keep talking about this coiling in the backswing so that you can then let it go. But if you don't build up the right coil tension, you have nothing to let go.
Yeah.
So now you have to manufacture something in the downswing, which timing, fatigue, how fast are you doing it versus setting it and letting it go like a rubber band.
Yeah.
It's all related. But I was going to say, I had this young guy that I started working with. He's a recent alumni of NC State, and he wanted to start working with me. So we had our first lesson last week, Friday, and amazing. This is not a brag or anything, but it was amazing what can happen when the student and the instructor are speaking language they both understand.
yeah,
I was able to accomplish so much with this guy in 50 minutes that you would have thought the person who came to me and the person who left were two completely different people. And a lot of it had to do with the setup at first. He'd never had any lessons, he'd never had any instruction, hadn't had anything to work with, went down the YouTube rabbit hole, realized this was not getting him anywhere. Too many swing thoughts, too many swing changes, not knowing what's beneficial, what's not. And he comes to me, classic golfer who's never had a lesson or never had anybody look at things because it's so hard to know what to look for if you don't know what to look for and how to identify it. Classic crossed up position, feet pointed right at the target, shoulders pointed left to the target, club face pointed at the target. So he's at X before he's even started.
Mm.
Swings back, no injuries, plenty of speed, long arms, good looking kid, right? And then he swings over the top and he can't clear his weight to his left side and he hits massive pulls or massive slices. First thing we did, explained to him his alignment, how important that was to get everything in a good operational starting position. Instantly, the over the top is gone. Instantly, he can clear his way to the left side. And we talked about coiling, right? Not trying to, it's like, I'm trying to fire my hips. I'm trying to get my hands down. I'm trying to hit down the ball, this, that, and the other. And I was like, you're trying to do too much. You need to set yourself up in a good position and then let it out. And I kid you, this kid just started dead straight, dead straight, dead straight, slight fade, slight fade. And we just worked on some basic flow drills and some step, kinematic sequence, some coiling, this, that, and the other. And I said, your job is not to do anything else. After you've got to here, your job is to let it go. And I mean, I was like, kid, you just went from a 90s to an 80s shooter, like
Yeah.
over 50 minutes if you do nothing else but hit these 75% for golf swings.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane how good the kid was hitting it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's cool, but you gotta have someone to help you. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels, chasing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
To piggyback to it, like if you're just I talk to my guys every day. They say they complain about the same things, all the time in the gym. But they're playing the next day, right? They just play 18, they're gonna play the next day. I'm like, when's the last time you went and practiced your putting? When was the last time you went to the range? Or when's the last time you had a lesson? Just a half-hour lesson. And, you know, I don't know if they just like complaining about the same thing all the time. But, as a guy that I see them every week and I ask them how they're doing, and I think if you hear the same things over and over, you're like, well, what are you doing different? We're
Yeah.
all like, I'm thinking performance. Okay, what are you doing different? So that's just the barrier, is to get from they're frustrated, but okay, well, what's your game plan? Well,
Yeah.
I'm playing 18 tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
hope things change.
Tomorrow things are gonna be better.
And going back to the car and the racing analogy, right? Okay, if let's say we've got our car tuned to set up and run in this temperature track, the
Yeah.
track is this temperature. Well, then it's dropped 15 degrees, it's colder. They're going to adjust the tire. They're going to let
Sure.
pressure out of the tire so that they can hook and not just spin.
Yeah.
If they don't, if they just keep gassing it and they get mad that they're still running nines and not eights, well, they're not done anything different. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. Exactly to your point.
Yeah. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. But on the grip stuff, and this gets slightly into my reason for asking this and gets into technique, I guess. We don't have to get into it. But is there any utility? Are there different types of lifts that you should do to exercise different parts of the grip? Like, for example, I don't know if there is a necessity for me to literally strengthen my pinky and ring finger. It does seem that it would help me to hold that a little bit better, but I don't know if that's actually practical. But are there reasons to do different lifts to strengthen different parts of your arms? Because I did notice when even with the overhead carry, okay, if I hold it this way, it's a little different sensation than if I turn it 90 degrees and have it this way, right? So it's working different parts of the muscle.
Yeah. If you lock your elbow, this is gonna feel different than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I've been trying to keep it locked, but I struggle to because it keeps, so it is more comfortable to keep it down here. That's right. That's it. So I try to keep it as locked as I can, but I mean, how many different variations of these things could you be doing? Or is it just a matter of just
Great.
building overall strength?
Yeah, I learned early on, 20 plus years ago, just the term change the angle, change the exercise. And exactly what you're saying with the farmer's carry with a dumbbell over your head. Change the angle, you just change the exercise. It's just a feeling. And that's what I do all the time in the gym. You don't want to do the same thing over and over again. And that's the constant challenge in the gym, right? Is how can I make it more stimulating, brain and body connection and make it more stimulating. And sometimes it's just by changing the grip, palm down, palm up, thumb down
Hmm.
when we're pulling. But, working on grip, pulling exercises, right? You got to hold it, like you said, the farmer's carry where you're holding a weight. Yeah. Yeah. I think pulling exercises, you're going to work on the grip for sure. And I think guys like to push more than they like to pull. But going back to posture, just to keep it simple, for every pushing exercise you do, I think the amateur should do 2 pulling exercises. Because if you're just pushing, we're talking about the rounded shoulders, we're talking about bad posture. So you're just reinforcing bad posture. We joke sometimes like Monday is National Chest Day at the gym. Rough weekend, everybody wants to start with chest day.
Hmm.
And then, I'll do legs on Friday if I get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, people ask me all the time, what's the right exercises? And I obviously do things that you enjoy, but if you're in the gym, try to pull more than you push. You want to you want to put your body in a new position. You want to train it in a new body position. You don't want to reinforce the bad posture. You want to create new, what we call movement patterns,
Hmm.
So yeah.
100% agree. 100%. I remember, I'll never forget this. Went to the gym and I saw this guy that I used to work with at the restaurant. The kid looked like
Yeah.
all he ever trained is chest, and that's all he ever trained.
Yeah.
And he
The
looked
Hulk Hogan.
deformed. He looked deformed. Yeah, he just looked terrible. And to your exact point, right? Okay, even from a vanity standpoint, I'm not moving, I'm just standing up. From a vanity standpoint, I could do no chest, right? And just work on my back, and now my chest and my shoulders, everything looks broader. Or I get a very strong, thick chest, but if you're like this, you can't even tell. It doesn't look like you have a strong chest.
It's funny when I just walk around with good posture, I look, except that it shows my belly more, but you look like you've got a broader chest. You look like you're more in shape if you just have good posture.
And it helps your personality, it helps your confidence, it helps your swagger, it helps everything, right? Like they say, if you can't or fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
Well, attitude in your brain, posture, your posture of your brain, posture of your thoughts is also
Yeah.
thing.
I've never heard the 2-to-1 thing though. That's interesting. 2-to-1 pushing versus pulling. Just for clarification, make sure that listeners who may not be big into the gym understand the difference in that, because I know I did the P90X one time. They had a push-pull day where you do push-ups and pull-ups and rows and all. But if you think about a push-up and a row are the exact same motion, but one is pushing the weight away from you and one's pulling it towards you. Pull-up versus a shoulder press is the same motion, but one's pushing it away, one's pulling. So
Yeah. So it's really tough for people that work out out of the house because people just have the floor, they just do push-ups, right? Not many people can do pull-ups. They hook up a bar in their
yeah,
doorway. So not many people are working on pull-ups. So a lot of times you have to go to the gym and use a cable, a bar hooked to a cable over your head and pull. Or if you have dumbbells, you have to lean forward and do a, one arm rows or whatnot. But yeah, it's tough to work on pulling exercises out of the house because you just don't have, you need some type of machine or to practice your pulling consistently. So, yeah, it's just being aware of that, if you have a gym to go to. But yeah, 2-to-1, pull to push.
Two pieces of equipment that are fantastic if you only can work out at home. Very small investment. You get one of those over the door hanging rope adjustment systems. I have one. It's called a TRX.
hmm
Everybody has an off version. You can take it with you when you travel, right?
hmm
Throw it over the door, it anchors, and you can lean back for more resistance and do your rows. You can start off up. You can do one arm, you can do two arm, and then bands. You hook a band around the door or whatever, and you can start off for most people who aren't like
yeah,
fit. It's at least something, or just get some light dumbbells and start with your rows that way. But yeah,
yeah.
you have to do something. You ever do the ones with the shoulder blades where you lay on your back and you squeeze the shoulder blades, your elbows in the ground?
Sure.
That's another one too.
Yeah.
No equipment needed.
Yeah.
Good one.
For the most part, though, I can't think of a push pull variation on like your big leg muscles, your squats. You can either you can't stand in a squat position and pull the weight towards you, right?
Stiff-legged deadlifts, RDLs, anything that you're lengthening the hamstring and then
Okay, gotcha. So there are variations, I guess, even with the lower body too. Okay.
Yeah, step up lunges. You can do lunges in multiple directions. Um, single leg squats off a chair or a bench. Body weight squats. Putting a band around your knees. I mean, yeah, we could go on and on.
So there are some things you can do with it.
Oh,
But okay.
for sure.
Gotcha.
It doesn't require a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You can get creative.
Yeah.
The worst monster walks with a band around your knees. That
Sure.
will kill you.
Yeah, you used to make me do those once in a while. Those were rough.
Very
I didn't-
underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing better than giving a guy like bands to put around
Uh-huh.
his ankles or knees, and they're like, "Why are you giving me these?"
Mhm.
And then he's like, "Well, I just need you to walk sideways for 45 seconds," and then they're like crying.
Yep.
That's the best.
That's right.
Like, I want to squat,
Yeah.
50-pound dumbbells.
That's what help you do that.
Yeah,
Stabilizers. So,
Well, I think we're not quite as long on this one as we have been, but didn't you have to go at 3?
yeah, you're good kids.
Okay, gotcha.
Hashtag kids.
All right. We'll wrap it there, but I will plug. So it's not officially, well, it's out there, I guess. So I'll plug the YouTube channel now. We got to get more content on there. But if you are listening to the podcast and want to check us out on YouTube, we have some additional video resources and things like that where Mike and Tony put some drills together and can demonstrate a little more. It's kind of hard to demonstrate some of this stuff verbally, but we've got some videos. It's YouTube at The Best Podcast Ever. So you can check us out there, like us, subscribe us, do all that. If you're listening to the show, also rate it, like it, follow it, comment on it, whatever like that. Tell people about it. Now that we know what it's called, it took us a little while to settle in on a name. And we're also accepting other nominations for names. If anybody wants to throw other ideas at us, well, you can email those to Tony or Mike. Don't bother me with them. But anyway, well, thanks, guys. Always fun. See y'all
See ya.
later. I was telling him, well, I texted you that Sully said
by the way.
Tony. I know. Sorry. Once we start recording, my brain freezes sometimes. That's why I don't do like the big formal like now we're starting thing. It's like I usually just like hit record and then we start talking and we'll figure out the rest of the interesting thing.
Again, something to
Maybe
live
so.
up to, right? Something to try and.
That's the problem. I don't think we can live up to it. If I thought we could live up to it, it'd be different.
Hey, you reach for the stars and make it to the moon, right?